the town where the jazz is swinging high. It's the New Orleans Outsider with Chris Goff, my oh my. We may be outsiders, but our love for New Orleans is true. So come along as I share it all with you. Sights and sounds, food and drinks. We're here to take a ride with New Orleans Outsider as our guide.
And here are your hosts, Chris Goff, Peter Newkirch, and Justin Appleberry.
Going to another restaurant that we hit on the Guys Trip 2025. And this time it's a Brennan's restaurant, a Dickie Brennan's restaurant. I am Chris along with Peter tonight. And welcome to NOLA Outsider, where we're going to talk about Tableau. Now, Tableau is a restaurant located on St. Peter Street in the French Quarter, and it is one of the Brennan family restaurants. Now, there's so many different Brennan offshoots. I mean, you have Ralph, you have Dickie, you have the family that controls Commander's Palace, which is a different branch of the Brennans. So, in the world of New Orleans cuisine, the Brennan families in general have a lot of great restaurants.
They do. They've even expanded outside of New Orleans. They've had other ones. They've not all succeeded, but Memphis, I believe Houston, Las Vegas, I think somewhere in Florida. They've made attempts. Some have been, as I said, more successful than others. But yeah, their main concentration is definitely in New Orleans. It's a family of it's a large group of families, and they own a bunch of restaurants, and you have to check the list often because it changes.
Yeah, it's funny because before we get into Tableau, the Brennans in general, when I started first going down there, 10 plus years ago, you start seeing, Brennan everywhere. And so then we started this tradition every Christmas. I tell you guys to do this too, to buy $100 gift card of the Brennan's family. And then you get, at a certain point, they give you a $35 gift card as like a gift on top of that. It's basically between like Christmas and New Year's. It's like a small gap of time you can do that. So that's when I sort of understood like where the Brennan's family of restaurants sort of lie. You have Ralph Brennan has this half dozen, and then Dickie Brennan has this half dozen. So when they send out these gift cards, I usually get the Ralph Brennan gift card because I really like Napoleon House, which they acquired Napoleon House within the last decade. So that's one that I always want to go to. So, although they have Redfish Grill and he has several that I've been to, but the Dickie Brennan side, I've been to several of his restaurants as well, including Tableau now. And, when I try to explain to people, let's say in Kansas City where, what are the Brennan's restaurant, what restaurants would I go to? I tell them about the Brennan's. And I guess I don't know what to compare it to in town here. Not Garozzo's because he has a couple restaurants still, but it's a chain, but it's a local chain, and they have the Palace Cafe that just got shuttered due to their rent problem they're having with the owner of the building. But that was another big one that's been there forever. So when I tell people about the Brennans that aren't familiar with New Orleans, I explain to them like it seems like everything in New Orleans is mom and pop, and for the majority of it is, but the Brennans have quite the hold on the restaurants that I like to go to.
They're a family, but they're also a restaurant group. They are local to New Orleans. So it's that give and take of it's great that it's stayed within a family that is a New Orleans based family, but they do control a lot of restaurants. There is good and bad to that, not just from one section or the other of the whole group. I know we're going to get into some of the plus and minuses of that entire situation.
Sure. Yeah. And we comment all the time. I don't like to, before we get into this review of Tableau, I do want to make this disclaimer. I think most restaurants in the French Quarter would be my favorite restaurant in Kansas City, outside of a barbecue place, I guess, that you love or something here. But I mean, these restaurants are held to a very high standard, especially the Brennan restaurants, because a lot of them are very good. They go from basically at this point, a small coffee shop sized place to, huge places. But I think the Brennan family name in New Orleans is super quality. So they are graded on a really, maybe unrealistic, but a really high curve. Okay. So So when we talk about Tableau here, or other Brennan restaurants we've had that maybe we didn't have the greatest meal in the world, that's because I'm comparing it to my favorites like GW Finn's or Commander's Palace or even Muriel's for that matter. So when we get into let's get into Tableau here. So Tableau has been around since 2013, and the building it's in is another historic building in the French Quarter. It used to be the La Petite Theatre du Vieux-Carré, and it's one of the oldest community theaters in the United States. It's got that awesome 18th century architecture and overlooks Jackson Square. So it's in a centrally located spot. Of course, if you're anywhere near Jackson Square, that's going to be a great place. It's very close to the action there. Gets a lot of foot traffic, as do a lot of the Brennan's restaurants in general. But this is one, Peter, that I've heard of for I guess over a decade now since I've been going down there. I have gone there. My friend Travis, our friend Travis, said that I've been there before. I sort of remember stumbling in there once. It was not a sober evening to talk about, so I don't really remember that. So my first time was this full dinner that we had together that I recall. But I went there because Travis talks a lot about Tableau and how it was one of his greatest meals ever. So that's why I wanted to try it this time.
Yes, we all have our place.
We do.
We had our greatest meal ever. And not just because it's New Orleans, it's just that happens to be where we've all had our greatest meal ever.
Well, your greatest meal ever also at Brennan's restaurant.
Yes, Ralph's on the Park. And
mine is not. GW Finn's is not. So that's all. That's a Kansas City tie-in, though, GW Finn's. But I digress. Yeah. So, we had heard. So I talked to Travis earlier because I wanted to get his. I could not remember his meal that he had that I've heard of for many years, and he talked about with a twinkle in his eye every time I've asked him about it.
Yeah, and he remembers it with amazing detail.
Great detail. It was life-changing. Yeah. Hey, we all have had life-changing meals. I get it. A tear comes to my eye every time I want to get some fish over at GW Finn. So I say, like whether it's the scalloped or my favorite fish, I understand. But so I said, what did you get at Tableau the very first time you went that you talked about so much? And he said it was the Tornadoes Rossini, which you can probably explain that better, what it is.
The beef fillet with that's seared, and then a slice of foie gras that's also seared on top
with black truffles.
Just to add that little bit of extra.
So, dude, he used to talk about the foie gras on top of the steak and how, it was the greatest meal, and those truffles, the French onion soup he loves there. He got that again this time. We'll get to what he had this time, but I had heard about it.
Different though.
It's what?
I know it was. I believe it was a different French onion soup.
Oh, was it?
Because he said it had andouille in it the first time. And I don't remember it having andouille in it this time.
I see. Well, I did not have an appetizer this time, so I didn't compare. And I gotta be, the Tornadoes Rossini was not on the menu this time. So Travis, when we went this time, got the schnitzel with homemade sauerkraut with the French onion soup. Now, this is a weird call, Peter. I know you love your German food. Grunauer is one of your favorite restaurants here in Kansas City, but a schnitzel at Tableau it's a little out of bounds. It really is.
Garrett had the same thing.
Yeah. What are they thinking?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's great, but
Yeah, well, it's but it's kind of like saying going to New Orleans to go to a steakhouse when we got some of the best steakhouses here.
Yeah, why do that?
Yeah, so we have an exceptional Austrian restaurant here. I've been to the other one in Vienna. I would say the one here is better.
Wow.
And that one's exceptional. So that's it. So I'm kind of the same thing. Like, why would you order German food in New Orleans? Not that it's wrong. It's just there was other options on the menu. That it's a beautiful space, and it splits it with the theater. Still, it's still there. So when we were there, we walked in, and they did a great job. It's beautiful foyer, and we saw there was a crowd that was getting ready for whatever the theater was going on that night, and they didn't seem overwhelmed or bothered by it. It wasn't bothering the restaurant. Sometimes you get that pre-theater crowd, and they're trying to rush through it. And I do have to give the qualifier. It was a Sunday night, and brunch is still very big in New Orleans.
Sure.
So it's the one city where your A team is going to be serving brunch, not Sunday dinner. That can be reversed in other cities.
I get that. And, it is fair, too. We're going in mid to late June, which is not tourist season for New Orleans. I mean, this is the time to go if you don't want people to, as we discussed, the time to go if you don't want to be in an overcrowded situation in both New Orleans and Las Vegas is the summer, because it's hot different ways, humid and dry. It doesn't matter. But it's, this is not the, so brunch. Yes. A Sunday brunch in June is probably going to be a better barometer, I suppose, of the complete service that you're going to get at a really high level restaurant like this than the dinner we went to. But it was our first meal that we had, we went to Napoleon House for a quick bite earlier that day, but it was our first dinner that we had reservations for. So we went in there. I had looked at all the menus of the places we were going, as we like to do, to sort of like start calling our shots. You like to make, whatever floats your boat that day. You don't like to be planned. No. And neither do I, but I like to see what are my options. So I ended up getting the seafood bouillabaisse, which I am a huge fan of. Cioppino or any kind of seafood stew of any sort, I am all for. So I got to be honest, like, I thought my bouillabaisse was great. Like, I thought, for what it is, and it had every kind of sea life in there. It did. It was, you had mussels, you had scallops, you had crab, you had shrimp, and it had the bouillabaisse. Essentially, the biggest difference, I guess, between a bouillabaisse and a cioppino is the red sauce versus sort of the seafood broth, right? That's basically the same, the difference.
Yeah, there would be saffron instead of tomato. Yeah, so no tomato in bouillabaisse. And but they are very close.
I think it was because I had so much to eat at Napoleon House, I didn't have an appetizer. Did you get an appetizer when we went there?
To
Tableau? What did you?
I got salad. That was first miss. Well, it's the second misstep of the night. The first day, so they sat down. It was great, and the waiter was good. He came up, was attentive to what we. And they brought out that bread, and he gave some spiel about where it was from, and it's like exclusive to them. Honestly, that bread was stale, and just didn't have any real flavor to it. I was immediately disappointed by that bread. I mean, we went to Napoleon House and we had bread, and it was way better. And we've already discussed the amazing, clearly fresh made, handmade, in-house bread at Restaurant Revolution.
Yep.
So pretty much everywhere we go in New Orleans of any level, we're expecting it to either be house made or truly fresh from some bakery where they have a special deal for that restaurant. I did not feel that was that. So I got the maison salad with the addition of oysters. Salad came out, and it was just not particularly impressive, even as a house salad, which is what that is. It was fine. It was nothing was wrong with it. It just wasn't impressive. I didn't think the greens were impressive. There was nothing really exciting about it. And it's not cheap by any means. And then but they immediately forgot the oysters.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. So, and that was the whole reason I didn't get a starter or anything else. I was like, well, that's going to be pretty big. I mean,
sure.
The salad to start with is 13, and as soon as you add the oyster, it's another $10. They did bring them out almost immediately. He admitted, the waiter apologized, and they were delicious. They were fried oysters. They were done perfectly. They were great. I did add them to the rest of myself, but I had to wait. So that wasn't great. He also appeared to be the only waiter, and definitely the bartender.
So yeah. So I've been I'm gonna go to Vegas in a few weeks, and so I've been looking at some videos on YouTube, just some people that I know do some travel vlog type things about Vegas, and something they said sort of hit home with New Orleans. And I didn't know if you would agree with this or not, but they were talking about how, New Orleans has, I think, close to they're saying 10% drop in visitors this year, and they're freaking out a little bit. So what that caused them to do was, get rid of their wait staff. A lot of the wait staff that's in Vegas, similar to New Orleans, tons of wait staff, obviously. So, so the problem was that some of these people that are reviewing places now are saying is what you're sort of talking about, which is they get rid of like a decent number of staff people. So now instead of having, and this is our friend Travis brought this up too on the waiter at our place this time when they had a lack of staff. New Orleans is one of those places, especially these Brennan restaurants, you're used to having, you have a water guy, you have a bread guy, you have 5 guys in some, at some restaurants. Antoine's is like this too. But they've gotten rid of so many staff that they have to have these guys just hoofing it now, doing like 3 jobs, and it's there more work for them, less people to pay for the ownership. But I guess if you're comparing it to years past, the service is down, right?
Yeah, it's not that he didn't want to be attentive. He was a good waiter. I want to give him full credit. I had no issues with him as waiter. He was just clearly handling more tables than he should have, and we know he was the bartender because we saw him go make the drinks, and there was no bartender. It wasn't like he filled in. There just clearly was no bartender.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to watch that go down, and I blame that partially to maybe what I'm talking about with the staff being cut, but also it was a Sunday night. I've read a bunch about the brunch at Tableau and how their Sunday brunch with the jazz brunch is a big deal. So yeah, you're probably not getting the top of the line stuff, but also, I just think that it's in the middle of summer and they probably just cut their staff a lot just during that time of the year anyway, so maybe it's partially our fault for going that time, but
we Restaurant Revolution, which same trip, they had full staff. Muriel's had full staff. We had two. They always have 2, and we had 2 there.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So, but like I said, I'm going to give them the benefit of it was a Sunday night, and we know that brunch is huge in that city.
Yeah, no, you're right. And their brunch menu is pretty similar to their dinner menu. I mean, obviously they're going to do a lot more egg dishes and they have shrimp and grits. They have some of that stuff on their brunch menu, but their dinner menu is what we hit. And we already talked about your salad, but when you go to your entree, like I said, I got the seafood bouillabaisse, which was $38. Gulf fish, Gulf shrimp, mussels, calamari. The grilled baguette in there was great. The saffron seafood broth. What did you end up getting for? Did you get the shank? What'd you get?
No, I got the mules frites, the mussels with fries.
Okay. And what did you think?
Classic French, very classic French. That's French bistros all day long.
Yeah.
Again, broth was delicious. The mussels were cooked great. I don't think there was a miss on any of them. They were all fat and plump and delicious. The frites, the fries were delicious again, well seasoned. Came out. It was a great presentation. And it's those small details from my former profession that has always if you're gonna say you're at this level, so they're still saying that they're at this level where you have a 3 server system going on it. You can't be off on anything, even if it's 1. And while this wasn't the server, it's just those little things of butter should be room temperature and it shouldn't be in foil packs. Theirs wasn't, but my biggest issue was they bring out this nice platter with a bowl of mussels and a served side dish of the fries,
mm-hmm.
and then it had a truffle aioli with it, which was in a plastic cup. Like, if you're going to go through the trouble of having already 3 pieces of china to run through the dish machine, what's the difference with adding 1 more piece? Like, why add the plastic cup?
Sure.
It's tacky. It's tacky.
I mean, again, like I just want to be fair. It's sort of like you're rating your favorite model, right? I mean, it's like when I'm paying, I think it's fair to say when you're paying $100 a head plus for dinner, you have, I don't know, 25 places in the quarter that you would pay that much. So you're in competition here. And sometimes I think, through the years, the Brennan's outfit, for whatever reason, whether it's like still coming back from, the COVID crisis and the staff is still not 100%, which I gave them several years for them to bounce back from that because it was hit so hard down there. But it's like, you're comparing it to high levels here because you're spending a lot of money. And I will say this, we just went out to dinner the other day for my wife's birthday and you were with us with some other friends. And it's like, I still think that the New Orleans meals are on average a better, no matter what you pay, it's a better like deal than other like cities like Kansas City's like top restaurants. I still think you get, I still rate New Orleans number one over anything here. But I don't know. It's maybe you look at it.
Experience. I still agree with you on that basic concept. And that meal that we had the other night, it was very good. But
it was. Would
we have paid the same amount in New Orleans and had a slightly or better experience? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah. I'm not even wavering on that. So I guess my point is,
my Aperol spritz was delicious.
I need to get an Aperol spritz just to say I've had one. I did have horse feathers, which I did look up the recipe for a horse feathers cocktail, and I will be making that soon. There's not a lot to it, although they had the green chartreuse in it, which was not in the recipe I saw. Now that come to think of it, but yeah, look, again, like when you sit here and talk about, Redfish Grill, we have friends that Travis is a guy that loved Redfish Grill 12 years ago. We went, I don't know, what was it, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it was like, people were calling it like a shade above, an Applebee's down there. That's harsh, but their point was, this isn't what it used to be. I've gone to Brennan's twice. I gave it 2 shots and I like Brennan's, the restaurant. It's the history. It's the namesake. It's, the pink building, I will give them this. What they do for people's birthdays is awesome. They bring out this huge platter of cotton candy on a tray and you pick it up and there's a cake and ice cream underneath it. Plus you get a Brennan's apron. I think that's really cool. But the service was like subpar at Brennan's the last two times. I went with my parents, with my wife. And it just was. So, Tableau this time, I think, Travis, our friend that's gone there multiple times, he was like, yeah, and he was one that wanted to go so bad this time. He sort of was like, yeah, it's sort of lacking from last time. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, time of year, day of the week. But you're right. I mean, it's not like when we went to Restaurant Revolution on Monday, it's not like that's a hopping time in the summer on a Monday night either. So you're right. It's right to be criticized next to its contemporaries, right?
Right. And what I find interesting is it's not issue with Dickie's restaurants or Ralph's restaurants as far as one is better than the other and one needs to learn from the other or something. They both have restaurants that are exceptional, and then they both have restaurants where we have issues with them. But it's the same issues with both. They're charging at a level where they still are acting like they have a 3-server system.
Sure.
They don't. And then there's just these tiny missteps. My biggest issue, so it just makes everything's a little bit closer to average than that standard that we expect out of those Brennan restaurants. My biggest issue, and I've told you this story, but the day after we left New Orleans, my brother showed up for business. Said it was all prearranged that they were going to Brennan's. I said, expect a slightly above average meal. You're not going to be real impressed with anything. Service is going to be okay. But my biggest issue, and it's not all their restaurants. It's just some of them. They are clearly instructed to push alcohol.
They are.
A lot. And so I felt like that Tableau was doing that. That's what we've had that experience at Brennan's. My brother had that experience at Brennan's. But then we go to Napoleon House and it's not that way at all.
No, and Napoleon House and Pascal Manali's, which both have been bought by the Brennans in the last, handful of years. And they're both like longtime New Orleans stalwarts, and they are picked up by this family now. And to their credit, they haven't really changed it at all. So, they're sort of like whatever. Their standards are different, or they're not messing with it the way it was versus the ones they've created. Maybe that's the difference. I don't know. But you're right. I mean, I had the same thing at Brennan's where it's like, and I get it, man. I have a place that sells alcohol and food. the alcohol profit on alcohol is, I don't know, roughly 10 times that of food. So, I mean, like, yeah, food is, you do want to push alcohol. I get that. But they do it to such a degree down there that it's a turnoff.
Yeah. Well, I told you, the last time we were at Brennan's, we were there for brunch. It was fine. Server was fine. Again, it was one server and a busboy. It was not the three, even for high brunch, it was not the full service. And I actually told the waiter, I said, don't ask me about alcohol again. I said, don't ask me if I want to drink again. I have coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, look, Vegas, New Orleans, these are places that you're there to drink, and they're there to remind you to drink. So I don't remember. I'm trying to look up. I'm not seeing their cocktail menu online here, so I don't remember what I had. I mean, their wine list is really impressive at Tableau, much like Restaurant Revolution. I mean, that's some massive wine list here, but I don't remember what cocktails I had, but I know I had a good cocktail there. I'm trying to remember. I'm sure I had a version of a hurricane or some kind of rum drink there, but I thought they were fine.
I remember. Yeah, I had a white. It was very nice, and it was the I remember everybody being happy with their cocktails. The wine list was well balanced, which is important. It wasn't something like you could get in there and you could be like, I don't know what I want, but I feel comfortable at this price point. But you also could go in there, and if you know wine, you could also pick something very nice out of that, by the glass or bottle.
Yeah. So it's interesting you brought that up, though. You got me thinking about the restaurants that they have that are exceptional. It's like, obviously Ralph's on the Park. We've both been there. So your favorite place. And it was a very good restaurant. And it's right by City Park. And we haven't talked about that one yet, but that is one that is the standards high there. They range. So the Bourbon House is one of theirs, right? And that's a good place for, sort of happy hour-ish type stuff. They got a ton of bourbons there, but they have like some awesome, we've had several times where we enjoyed their oysters, char grilled and raw oysters there. So they're all over the board. They go from elegant, like fine dining all the way down to sort of walking in. And that was something else that Travis brought up, is like how it seemed like higher level the first time he went. And now this time he saw people in there with like hat, shorts, t-shirts, stuff like that. And I don't know if that's a Brennan's thing or as much as it is societal. Like, I mean, I
think it's more societal, but I wish that the Brennan group, but even GW Fins and Restaurant Revolution and Commanders is part of the Brennan family, but they've all relaxed a little bit. And I'm sure it's a financial decision. I appreciate that, but I feel that if they would all actually acknowledge that it's an issue, they would bring that standard of dress back up.
Yeah, look, I mean, does it suck to wear a full suit in June, July, August, probably even September down there? Yeah. I mean, did they do it for 100 years before me? Yeah. So like, I get it. Our world is filled with, even more so now, people that work from home and like don't dress up every day. I still own suits because my former job, I had to wear a lot of those. So I still have them, thankfully. But otherwise, like, how many people today under 40 don't have suits? I mean, that's just normal. Yeah. So they're not even asking for suits.
Right.
They're not asking for that.
It doesn't have to be a suit, just a shirt with a collar. I think a jacket, and even in summertime, there are summer weight jackets that you can, and you're throwing it on. How long are you actually going to be uncomfortable? Because the restaurant's comfortable. Sure. You're talking about the walk or the Uber ride over there and stuff, and pants. Now, as a man who doesn't wear shorts, I never have a problem wearing pants, but I think everyone who does just wear shorts can suck it up for a half hour to put on a pair of pants.
Hey, I do. Yeah, I know you're talking about me with that comment, so. No, but I always makes me remember on The Sopranos, there was a scene where Tony Soprano was wearing shorts at like a cookout. And apparently I've heard them tell the story, like they got a call, or he got a random call from like supposed mafia member during the taping of the show. And he's like, hello. And he's like, Dons don't wear shorts. And so I don't think he ever wore them again. Which
he shouldn't.
But no, but look, I think again, it's time of year, and I think look, I am guilty of this at my own place. We had some standards where I would like say something to not dress code as much as like for example, I'm not a big fan of everyone bringing their dogs in. Okay, like I'm sorry, I like dogs. I don't need to take my dog to everything I do in my world. So when people bring dogs, which it clearly says no dogs inside, like if it's a slow day and they're the only customers at the time, I've been like, yeah, don't bother them, because and that's sort of the way I see the way they're doing this with the dress code. It's like they're going to relax it if they need money. And so, everything's I have found it by owning a business in the food and beverage, world that everything is a shade of gray. It just is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to, Tableau. Beautiful dining room. Beautiful restaurant. It's an iconic corner. It's right there across from the cathedral, which you can also see murals, because it's right on the other side of the cathedral. Very well thought out. Menu is very nice. They both Travis and Garrett said the schnitzel was very good and great.
Did you think that was weird? So if you look at their entrees, you got goldfish almondine, which that is the standard down there. Shrimp and grits standard. Bouillabaisse not standard. I wanted to get that, but it's seafood, so I'm putting that. Your frites, your moules frites, that's not standard, but I can see why you got that. Then they had a pasta, chicken tableau, the lamb shank, and then the pork schnitzel, which I swear there's several places down there that will randomly have a schnitzel on it, which I find that to be like out of left field on this menu. But they both liked it because they like schnitzel.
There's a lot of German history in that area and stuff. So I'm guessing they're giving a nod to the German history. They just didn't stay. They just kept going west. A lot of them ended up in Texas and West Louisiana, even as far as New Mexico and everything. So I'm guessing that it's the nod to that. And again, it's fine. I didn't think it was super odd. I think I would have thought it more odd if they had like like Chinese dumplings on the menu. That would be more out of place. But it was good. It's just we have an expectation about these restaurants, and we had a fine meal with decent service. None of us were upset. We just all agreed. It just wasn't to the level of expectation that we have for these restaurants in particular.
Sure. And again, they have a standard, and when we go down there and we have all these fancy places, again, Tableau would be by far the nicest restaurant within 20 miles of where I live by far. Yeah. So it's not even a question. But yeah, it's just they're just held to a different standard, and I think I thought my meal was very good, but that wasn't the consensus walking out was somewhat underwhelming based on expectations, and that's obviously not something they want to hear, but that's sort of the way that was the consensus I think at the table.
Yes, yeah, it was. Trying to remember. Travis did get dessert. It's only.
I think he got the chocolate torte. I think.
Yeah,
because he got something.
Remember only because he ate it and we didn't.
I do remember that. I believe he got the chocolate torte, if I'm not wrong. And they had the creme brulee. Obviously, that a lot of people have creme brulee down there.
I can't remember if he got the chocolate torte or the tarte à la boule.
That could be either one. I seem to remember chocolate, but I could be wrong. But he devoured it, so he wasn't complaining.
Yeah, and that's actually a very nice dessert menu. And the creme brulee and the chocolate torte, and then the blueberry upside down fancy airs, and this is house made frozen desserts, which is always nice because it means you're gonna get something probably made that day. It says sorbets and ice creams. So yeah. Again, it's a nice menu. I think it was reasonably priced for the area and everything else. Just didn't just kind of had some misfires. That's all.
Yeah, no. Look, I would go back to Tableau. I had no problem with it. I thought it was fine. I didn't know what to compare it to, and now I do. It's not like super tippy top level, but it's probably right underneath that, and it's really good. I enjoyed it. I think everybody else that went with us would go again. And, after talking about all this, and I know we haven't gone there for a couple of years now, so it makes me want to go, and I've talked to you about this, revisit Antoine's, because, Antoine's had such a high level before COVID, and that wrecked it to a degree. And of course, me and you have said we're rooting for Antoine's to come back to its former glory, because just the history of that place, the building, the rooms, the bar, everything there is just super cool. And, I just wanted to be around for another 200 years. And so I want to go back there because, like the draws of so many of these restaurants in New Orleans were their sort of deals that made them stand out apart from other things, whether it was the Desire happy hour deal with the oysters, or whether it's the, $20.19, 3-course lunch that they had at Antoine's for every year. They would raise it 1 penny. But I mean, the pricing today, as we've discussed with many times, like the pricing just makes it not doable anymore, which now but what happens with these restaurants is they still try to do that deal, but it's with far lesser quality or lesser items in general, in terms of, you're not getting the choice of, oh, do you want the 3 char-grilled oysters, or do you want this? It's like, do you want the house salad or Caesar salad? It's like, well, it's great. I mean, everything there is good. It's just, the pricing and just the environment now has changed. And I'd like to go back there just one more time so we could give it another assessment now for a couple of years.
Absolutely. I any place I go to once, I can't do it. I'll go back and try a second time, because there can always just be an off night.
Sure. And I think, I could sit here and critique places down there, and I've gone back to Brennan's. I will go back to these places because they all have something about them that's interesting, whether it's a memory or just something I want to try or just to give it another shot. They're all good, but I don't remember having a bad meal at in the French Quarter, necessarily ever, but just different levels. And you're talking about the greatest culinary city in the world, or at least in the United States. So it's
United States, one of the greats. You're and that's what we're saying is there's a very high expectation for restaurants in that city to live up to, and you have to because the city itself, there's the tourist side of it, but the citizens of that city eat out a lot also, and they don't tolerate average.
They don't, man. I mean, you see some of these locals posts about like things that have gone downhill. I mean, they're way worse than the tourists in terms of the brutal comments. So, it's funny to watch them. Funny because I'm not involved in terms of owning the place, but man, yeah, you got to keep it to a high standard down there. And we'll see. We'll talk about more of these places as we go on. But that's going to wrap it up on Tableau. I don't know if we have enough for Verdi Mart for our next episode, but with the videos that you've been sending me of C'est La Vie, which is the name of some sort of some vloggers on YouTubers, whatever you want to call them, that sort of do some, they look around, and we've discussed them before. They go around the city and talk about a lot of the places that we like. And, with him ranking Verdi Mart as some of the top sandwiches, including the muffaletta in New Orleans, I'm like, man, we really need to hash out Verdi Mart. And I feel like we could probably just do an episode on Verdi Mart because we've had a lot of experiences there. So, and we've all gotten different things there. Yeah. And so I think I would like to do it on Verdi Mart. I want to do that because, we can talk about Tableau for a half hour. I think we can talk about Verdi Mart.
Oh, yeah. And Verdi Mart, there's we're going to discuss the food, what to order, what not to order, what we like, what we don't like, what everybody else likes. And then everyone has a story about Verdi. Yeah.
I mean, because Verdi Mart is that fourth meal or fifth meal, whatever you're eating in New Orleans. It's that meal that you get right before, I think I'm going to go to bed. No, let's just go get one more sandwich at 2 a.m. And at 2 a.m. in the French Quarter, you're going to have a story. Whether it's at, Jean's Po' Boy or Verdi Mart, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a story. So Anyway, thank you for joining us on NOLA Outsider. Check us out, give us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week talking about Birdie Marts. So for Peter, I am Chris. We'll see you then.
Have a good night.
Thanks for listening to the NOLA Outsider podcast. We'd love to hear about your experiences in the greatest city in the world. Email us at outsidanola@gmail.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/NOLA Outsider or visit NOLAOutsider.com. See you next time on NOLA Outsider.